Till now, we have learned many different things in HTML, and now it's the time to learn how we can add a video to our website. So, first of all, I have added this video file. It's very lightweighted. I have added it into the resources of this lecture. So go ahead and download this video on your computer first. And second, if you don't have the files that you can download that file as well from the resources of this lecture. So let's begin. I'm going to take this video, write the name video, okay, and just drag and drop it inside that folder. And we can play it. It's a very short video, 18 seconds. It's just a sample, okay? I wanted you to see how it will look. So how we can add this video to our website. It's easy. Come here, I'm going to close this CSS style. And where we can add it, let's come here to after the title and the subtitle, let's add it there, okay? So I'm going to add it here. I'm going to come here, and the tag for it is somehow obvious, video. And video can be both a self-closing tag or not, depending how do you want to use the source. Now, write down the file name / and like this, I'm going to save it. And if I refresh it, we see the video. So this was one of the ways that we can add the video. There is another way. Let's go back, right? So we have two tags here, opening and closing. We have one, and there is no content for it. We need only to direct our source to the video file. So the same way that I added earlier, I'm gonna use src and write down video, the folder name, and then add it and save. And if I come here and refresh it, you see it's add the source with the source tag is that depending on different type of videos. For example, here we can have different formats of videos. If the browser can open MP4, then open MP4. If not, you can have the other types of videos with other formats and just add them right after this and direct them to different sources. Or for example, the source can be with different sizes. For example, the first one can be Full HD 1080p. The second one can be smaller with smaller size, and this way, okay? So there are different reasons that why we need to add different sources, but right now we are just going with one source. And if you pay attention, there is no way we can play it. There is no control bar here. And we can add that easily with an attribute in the video, and that is called controls. Just write down controls, and that's enough. And if I refresh it, now the control bar here appear, and you can play it, you can pause it, but it's so big. What we can do about that? So let's change the width to 300 pixels, for example. Save it, and now it's smaller. It's manageable. Let's make it, for example, 500, a little bit bigger. Let's play it. And there are different properties for video, different attributes for video. For example, if I click on these three dots, I can change the playback speed. I can there are ways to add a download button here so users can download the video, and you can do all that by adding different attributes to your video. And the way to know more about that, I have added another link in the resources of this lecture, which takes you to the MDN website, and there you can see all the attributes connected to video. So here are the attributes. So for example, here we have autoplay, we have controls, we talked about it. There are different type of attributes. For example, loop. If you use this one, every time that the video finish, it starts again from the beginning. Okay, so there are different attributes here, and there are some events. About the events, we will talk more about it when we get to the how we can change the settings for it. And on the next part, we are going to talk about something very important, which is called grouping elements. So if you're ready, let's go for the next one. So during this lesson, we are going to learn about a grouping tag, which will help us to group different elements into same categories and different and have different styles applied to them. Okay, so here we are, and the tag that I'm going to use for the grouping element is called div, which stands for division, right? I'm going to place them the intro, everything that we have inside this tag. Text with a longer text. If you write lorem into VS Code, it will just bring a long text for you. Okay, so let's come here. Now it seems that there is no difference, but if we come here and inspect and go to the developer tools, here we have our div, right? It's right here. And I can add different styles to it, right? So and this is under this part. So I'm going to add intro section. Okay, you can place your CSS code any way you want, but I prefer to cut them into different sections as they appear on my web page. So for example, here first I have the navigational bar, so I'm going to have the navigational CSS here. Then I'm going to have the intro, and I'm going to write down intro here, and then we have the products, which will come after that. So here I'm going to select intro tag, intro ID, and then inside it I'm going to change, for example, the background color to something a little bit darker. For example, a little bit darker. Changed. But the thing is that if you pay attention, there is a small border around our file. Later, I will go deeper into this, but if you just want to fix it right now, you can come to body. Let me go to the next line so it is easier to read, and just add margin equal to 0. Okay, just save this, and then it will just stick to the left side and right side, and in general it will look much better, right? So I can also change the color of my title and my text here. I can come here into the intro, change the color to white, for example, save it, and now it's changed, right? As we go forward, we improve the design and the way it looks. So don't worry if it's not looking really good yet. As we go forward, we have a chance to make it better. But now I have a practice for you. Now that we have learned that looked like this. You see, it's all in one package. It has, for example, the image, and the top parts are rounded, and you see then we have product, the text, and so on. Okay, now you have a chance to group them and make them more or less look like this. You can use this one of these light background colors, I think it's this one, and create that. So here is your objective. Group the product card, and then inside it add the styles below. So the background color with this color code, and then corners should be 20 pixel. Remove the image border, and then the group width should be equal to the image width, the same way that I just showed you, right? So if you're ready, pause the video and begin. So I hope you have been successful. Let's do the practice together. The first step is to come here and group the product card. So this is our image, then the title, and our image, then the title and the body. Inside it. Okay. You can easily, if you want to align them, you can easily go to the next line and just press tab one time and it will jump forward. Okay. So I'm going to save it, then I'm going to add a class to it, since we may have different product cards here, and I'm going to write down product dash card. Okay, I'm going to just copy the name, save the file, and come to CSS. Here the first item is going to be product card, so I'm going to write it first, then we will have product image. So we'll have product image. Six and F0. Okay, it's going to look like this. Then we are going to round the corners for it, so it's going to be border dash radius 20 pixel. And the next objective was to remove the border of our image. Okay, and to make them work better, let's just save it and take a look. Okay, now it's look like this, but you see the width, it's too much, right? And if we come here, if I right click on the image and we bring the inspect, okay, if I take this one and come here and just stay, you see at the top of the image it is written the width of the image. It's 250 pixel into 250 pixel. Okay, so if I want my product card to have the same width as my product image, all I need to do is to write down width equal to 250 pixel. Okay, I'm going to save it, come here, and now they are all in the same width, right? So it is not exactly same as mention it yet, and that is round only the top two corners of the image. So only round the top left and the top right corner of the image. And you may need to search a little for it. As I said, I didn't talk about it yet because I wanted you to search for it. And I hope you can find the answer, and pause the video and give it a try. So our objective is to just round these two parts, not these two, because it doesn't look so good. Look at it. Because it doesn't look so good. Come here, it looks much better. And the thing is that when you add only one number here, it will take it for all four corners. If you add two numbers here, let me just show you 50 pixel, then it will take for the first one the first number, the second one the second number, then again for the third corner it will jump back to the first number and again second number. But if you add four numbers, let me just try, for example, in this case we want 20 pixel, 0 and 0. Now we have 4 and it starts from top left. So if I save this, now the top two corners are rounded, but the bottom two aren't rounded, but the bottom two are semantic HTML. So in this lesson, we are going to learn more about semantic HTML. During the previous lesson, we learned about a grouping tag called div, which will give us this ability to group different elements into one package, right? For example, here in the screen, you can see we have different sections in a website, okay? The problem with div is that search engines and other analytic search engines like Google that this part, this group is a navigational bar, right? But during the previous lesson, we used div for the top part to group all of these items together, right? So there is a better option to tell Google that this section, this group has a meaning. It is for this purpose. Otherwise, they don't understand the purpose of each group. So we can replace div with header. It goes the same for the next section. For example, for this part, we can use a section. For the next part, which we have our main content, we can use main tag. And inside it, if we have, for example, different articles, we can use the article tag for them. And if we have a sidebar, for example, we can use a side tag, which tell Google that everything inside this part is just a sidebar, right? And finally, the last part, we can have footer, okay? So this is just a sample that I have created for you so you can understand the true meaning of semantic HTML. Inside the resources of this lecture, I have created a PDF for you and you can download it from there. All the tags connected to semantic HTML exist there. For example, here we have title, header, footer, main, nav, article, section, side, and it goes on and on, okay? All the tags that have a specific meaning, you can just go through them, read them once, and you get the idea. For example, we met EM, which stands for emphasize or strong, which make the text bold before. And you see there, the description for each of them exists under them, okay? And you can go through them and have a look. This way, we can create a better website that search engines understand it better so they can present our content to more people, to the users that are the right fit for our website, okay? And for this, I have a small practice for you. The practice is very simple. Your objective is to create the footer of our website. Use the footer tag to create the footer, and here is the style for the footer. You can just use the same thing as I put down for you. So the background should be the color code that I mentioned, the height 300 pixel with full width, and the text should be in the center. For number 3 and 4, probably you need to search a little about it, but in general, it's very easy. And number 5 is the color text. And if you're ready, pause the video and give it a go. All right, so I hope you have completed this challenge, and it's really easy. All we need to do is to come to the bottom of the body tag here before we close the body and add another tag called footer, okay? And then inside it, I'm just going to write a title. I'm going to use P and write down this is my footer, okay? And I can save it, and in the style, You can come down here because we are going to have only one footer in this page. I'm going to just use the tag name, and inside it, I'm going to use the background color, the color we mentioned. Then we are going to have a height width 300 all you need to do is to write down width and add 100%. And if I save it, come here, we have our footer here, but you see the text is here. Let's change the color of the text to white. Color, let's do it white, save it. Maybe it's better to replace this with, for example, H2 tag, save it, right? It's better. And I'm just gonna bring it to the center, okay? So there are different ways, but if you search for it, one of the ways to bring it to the center is to write down text, align, center. Save it, come here, and now the text is in the center. And later we will learn how we can center it vertically as well. Okay, so that was all about this lesson. If you're ready, let's go for the next lesson where we are going to talk about forms and how we can create different kind of forms, which is really, really necessary for a website to have. HTML forms, what they are. Show you the different type of forms that we use them daily. So this is one of the forms, one type, which is a sign up form. When you want to register in a website, you add your information inside each field and then you save it. Okay, this is one of the types. The other type is a contact us form, that you go on a website and you want to send a message to the admin of that website and you just write something in different fields, right? The third type is when you want to order a product online. It's again here matters because we can change however they look with CSS later, okay? A form. And the most common form that we use it every day is search. So in general, everywhere on the internet where there is an input that you can write something inside it and then submit it or send it or save it or do whatever you can with it, that is a form. And during the next couple of lessons, we are going to learn how we can build a form and what are the different types. For example, pay attention to the form number 3, the order form. You see, we have different type of inputs. We have name, we have address, we have email. Then we have a quantity input. You see, it's selected 3. Then we have credit card date, form on our website. So let's together create our first. If we come here, have a look at it, it looks like this right now. So first of all, let's fix the navigational bar, import this one. So I'm going to come on my index file, and here I'm going to take the header part all together, come to sign up, and I'm going to replace it with this part. Save it, come here, refresh. Oh, sorry, we have to go to the sign up page and let's refresh it. Now you see the style is not working because here we didn't connect it to the style sheet that we have. So I'm going to take this one as well and come to our sign up file, save it and refresh it, and now it's working. So we need to add a form here. Let's start with a simple form first. So the tag for it, which is more or less obvious, is for. Okay, so this is a form, and inside it we need to add inputs. Okay, and input is a self-closing tag. If I save this right now and come here, we only see a place to write something. Okay, but it doesn't have anything with it. It doesn't have a title. We don't know what is it about. Okay, so let's say we want to have an input here with a button that captures our email, like a subscribe form. Okay, the first thing that I have to do is to define the type of this input. What is the type of it? Because we have different types, and as we go forward I will show them to you. So I'm going to write down type, and here I'm going to write down email, right? So this way the browser understands that here we need to capture an email. There's still nothing changed, right? And let's add a button here. Okay, and for example, sign up. Okay, and refresh it, and now we have an input and a button. Let's put the button to the next line. I'm going to add BR here, right? Save it, and here it goes. Let's add another BR so it goes to the next line. We have some space. Okay, so there are two ways to show the name here. Okay, what type of content do we want our user to fill in? Okay, the first way is to add an attribute here called placeholder. Okay, and inside it I'm going to write down email. Save it, come here and refresh it, and now inside the box here, let me zoom in a little so you can see it better. Inside the box here, you see it's written email, right? This is the first way. The second way, which is more common, is that you can add a label here, okay? And inside the label, we're going to write down email, okay? And if I save it, it appears this way. We can add a BR so it goes to the next line, right? Okay. And one of the things that connects the label or code can understand that this label is for this input. One of the ways is by adding IDs and for attributes. So to input, we are going to add an ID, and I'm going to mention email here. And for label, I need to add an attribute called for. And here I mentioned the ID of the input that I want it to be connected. Okay, if I save it and come here and refresh it, nothing changes, but our code now it knows that this label is connected to this input. Even if I click on the label here, it activates the input for me. So it is connected, right? And here, the good thing about the type is that it will help us to avoid writing additional code. Is giving me an error. So these are the benefit of using the types. The browser will validate the data added. Now for button, we can also add the type, but by default it has a type. And if I come here, select type, we have different options, and one of them is submit. By default, when you create a button inside a form, the type of it will be submit, right? So that's why it was working. And if I change it to, for example, something else like reset, and if I save it, and if I come here and write down text, and if I click here, then it will reset the form for me. Okay, so it will do another job. That's why I said by default it was on submit. So this was email and label for email and the input for email. But what if we want to have more field, like what if we want to have a password field? So let's just duplicate this, and I'm going to change the label to password, and here change the type of this input to password as well. And I'm going to select the same name, or let's write down pass as an ID, and this label will be for an input with an ID name of pass. So save it, come here and refresh it, and we need a BR here. Okay, save it. Right, so if I click on this, it will jump on password. If I click on this, it will jump on email. And if I come here, because we selected the input type as password, when I write something, it shows me nothing. It will hide the password for me, okay? So this is one of the other benefits. But one thing here, let me just show you, test@test.com, okay? And here I don't write anything. If I click on sign up, it will refresh the page and it will accept the data, even though that I didn't write anything. So how we can fix that? Let me zoom in. How we can fix that? There is another attribute that we can write here, and that is required. Okay, you can add it both to the password and to the email. Okay, save it, refresh it, come here, write down, for example, if I don't write anything and I click on sign up, it says that you sign up, it says that you have to fill it out. HTML form. On the next part, we are going to have a practice. So let's go for the next one. Welcome to the next part where we are going to have a practice about HTML forms. During the previous lesson, we created a basic form with an email input and a password input. But during this practice, I want you to complete that sign up form. So create a complete sign up form, which include full name field. Okay. You can search for it. It's very easy. You just need to find the right type. It must have email. We already talked about it, so it should be easy for you. It should have phone number. Again, with a little search, you can find the right type input. It should have gender. Now for gender, you have two options to create it, and I want you to search for it. And on the next lesson, I will show you those two options. Number 5, add a find it. And the reason is because when you do it this way, when you try to learn these by searching yourself and trying so hard to complete the practice, this way the information sits in your mind for a longer time and you learn this stuff much better. Okay. And also you get better at searching and finding the solution to your problems in programming, which is extremely important. If you want to become a professional developer, you need to get better at searching and finding the solution. That's why I'm giving you these type of practices. Okay, so if you're ready, pause the video and complete the challenge, and on the next lesson I will show you the solution. So let's create a complete sign up form. The first thing we need to add is the full name input with the label. So I'm just going to copy this one, the email that we created, add some space between them so we can understand them better. So this one is going to be full name, okay? And the type of it will be text. And the ID for it, I'm just gonna write down name and name. Okay, save it, come here, and it's working fine. Okay, and remember that don't use required on all input, just the ones that are really required. The second field we should have is the email, and the third one should be phone number. So I'm going to paste our label and input again. Here I'm going to write down phone. And for the type of the input, I'm going to write down tel, okay, as a telephone. And you can write number, but number is a little bit tricky because it presents only number. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But tel presents a phone number, which works much better. Okay, the ID phone and the for attribute for the label also phone. Save it, refresh it, and here we have the phone. And you can add the phone number that you have. The next thing we need to add is the gender. Now, as I said, gender is a little bit tricky. There are two options to create the gender. The first one I'm going to create is to use radio buttons, okay? If we come here to, for example, W3 schools, and here you see we can use something like this. We can have a title, for example, gender, then an input, radio input, and then their label. So let's create something like this. The code is available here, but we're going to create it ourselves. So we are going to have text that, for example, mention the gender, and under it, we are going to have input and label in front of each other. So first we need to add input, okay? And after that, we need the label. The reason is because we have the input, then we have the label here. So let's write down the input. And for the input type, we need to select radio, okay? And we need to add an ID so we can connect it to our label. I'm going to say mail, for example. And here in the label, I'm going to mention mail. And let's duplicate this and write down female and female. Okay, save it and come here, refresh it, and we have, let's add a BR here so that we don't mix it with the next one. Okay, so we have male, female. But as you can see, we already checked both of them. How we can fix that? We need another attribute to add to the input, and that is the name attribute. So name, and here I'm going to mention gender. And I'm going to add the same thing to the next input. Okay, save it. And when we come here, now these are connected by the name. Okay, now the code understands that only one of them can be checked. Okay, so this is how you can create create a radio input like this. Let's add the BR here as well, which looks better. This is one way to add the gender. The other way is to, let me just comment this and just get it, bring it here. Okay. Another way is to use select type of input. So here we have our label gender, and instead of input, we need to add another tag, which is called select. Okay, select. okay? And be female. Same as input, we need to connect this select to our label. So we are going to create an ID, call it gender. And here I'm going to it's very simple. I'm gonna just show it to you, but later when we go deeper into forms and when we want to save the value of the forms into some database, I will explain it more. But for now, just know that where is it? Here we are. Let's add the date here. And let's come here. Birth date. Okay. And for the type, I'm going to mention date. Okay. And the ID birth here. Save it, and we have a birth date. Okay, you can click on this and select the date you want, or just add the numbers. The next thing is to add the password, which we already have it. And for the next one after that, we need something to upload a file like a profile image. So as I said, it's not gonna work right now, but I want you to get familiar with the type of that field. So the type is file, and here I write down, for example, profile image, and for the ID I write down image, and here image as well. And for example, it's not necessary, you don't need it. Okay, let's just remove the required from the ones that are not necessary. So here it is. Let me add a BR to the password, and here it goes. And if you click on it, it will open a window to add or to upload files. But of course, when you just select the file and click on sign up, the data will not be saved anywhere, right? And finally, we are going to have a checkbox. Okay, so this is the last input we are going to have here, and the type of it will be checkbox, but same as here, which we had the input and then we had the label, it should be the same. So we need the label to come after the input. Now I will show you how you should do it. So this is the type of it is checkbox, and the ID is terms, for example, terms of use, and the label here says that I agree to the term of use. Okay, and you can add a link here so people can click on it. Let me just show you. For example, here we can add an A tag and put the term of use inside this A tag, and here we can add just an href. I'm not going to add anything because we don't have a page for term of use, but I want you to understand how you can create something like this, right? And the for should be terms to match with the ID of our input. Save it, come here, and here we have it. I need a BR, I think, here. These BRs are really a problem. Later we will learn another method which is much easier, but since we didn't learn it yet, that's an issue. So you see, this is getting the effect from here, because here we changed all the links to this style. It's getting the same style here. So I agree to the term of use, and in general, we shouldn't change the font size, and it should be, for example, with another color so the users can understand it easier. Let me just fix it here, what I want to show you. So I'm going to change the font size to, I think it should be 16 pixel by default. Yeah, 16 pixel. Yeah, 16 pixel. You understand that? Okay, right. I have to agree to the terms, and if I click on this, it will jump to the terms sheet, right? So, sheet, right? So I know that it was a little bit long, and you probably needed to spend more time to find the right solution for each of them. But as I said, I wanted you to spend some time practicing it and get familiar with the different types, because as I said, inputs and forms are really important. And as we go forward, when you want to create a good website, in different places you need to create different forms so your website become functional and engage more people, right? And one other thing that I want to mention, never create a sign up for this long. Here it was just a practice, but you don't need a sign up form this line, because when there are too many fields, it will just become a little annoying for users, and they will stop themselves to complete the form. So when you want to have a sign up form, you can just have an email and a password, and add the rest of them later in the profile when they want to edit their profile. For example, they can upload an image, or they can, for example, add a phone number maybe, or name, etc. Okay, so you can do all that later in the profile, but for sign up, try to keep things simpler, right? So that was all about this lesson, and if you're ready, let's go for the next one.